Imagine ancient Egypt around 1353 BCE, a civilization at the peak of its power, wealthy, confident, and deeply religious. The gods were everywhere. Amen, the king of gods, reigned from his grand temple at Thebes. Ra sailed his sunboat across the sky. Osiris judged souls in the afterlife. The pharaoh's job was to maintain Matha, divine balance of the cosmos. Everything had its place. Then, a new pharaoh, Amenhotep IV, came to the throne. For the first few years, he ruled just as his father had. But beneath the surface, a revolutionary idea was taking hold, an idea that would shatter thousands of years of tradition. Amenhotep began to elevate a minor solar deity, the Aten. This wasn't entirely new. Sun worship was central to Egyptian belief, but the Aten was different. It wasn't depicted as a human or an animal. It was a pure, abstract solar disk, its rays ending in tiny hands that extended life to the world. At first, it was just one more god in a crowded pantheon. But then Amenhotep went further. Around the 5th year of his reign, he made a declaration that shook the empire. He changed his name to Akhenaten, meaning effective for the Aten. This wasn't just a new title. It was a statement of intent. Akhenaten wasn't just honoring the Aten. He was beginning to exclude all other gods. What followed was a religious revolution, the likes of which the world had never seen. Akhenaten ordered the great temples of Amen and other traditional gods to be closed. He sent workers to chisel their names off monuments, erasing them from history. The immense wealth and power of the old priesthoods were seized and redirected to the cult of the one true God, the Aten. In the great hymn to the Aten, a beautiful piece of poetry from this era, the god is described as a sole universal creator, the source of all life. Not just for Egyptians, but for all people, everywhere. The Aten created the seasons, the animals, and the very breath in our lungs. But there was a catch. This universal God was distant. You couldn't pray to the Aten directly. You had to go through its prophet on earth, the pharaoh himself. Akhenaten and his family became the sole intermediaries between humanity and the divine. To complete this break from the past, Akhenaten abandoned the ancient capital of Thebes. He led his followers into the desert and built a brand new city from scratch, Akhenaten, the horizon of the Aten. This city, known today as Amarna, was dedicated to his one god. Its temples were not dark, mysterious sanctuaries like the old ones. They were open-air courtyards, flooded with sunlight, where the Aten could be worshipped directly under the open sky. The art of this period is just as radical. For the first time, we see the royal family in surprisingly intimate casual scenes, playing with their daughters, sharing a meal, mourning a loss. The famous art style, with its elongated heads, slender limbs, and swollen bellies, wasn't realism. It was a theological statement, showing the royal family as vessels of the Aten's divine and life-giving energy different from ordinary mortals. So, was this the world's first monotheistic religion? Historians are precise here. It's better described as monolatry, the worship of one god without denying the existence of others. Akhenaten didn't write philosophical texts arguing that Amen and Osiris were false. He just acted as if they were irrelevant. He defunded them, ignored them, and erased them from public life. For the state, there was only one god that mattered. This was the historical breakthrough, the first attempt by a state to center all official religion around a single, universal deity. But this revolution from the top down couldn't last. Akhenaten ruled for about 17 years. While he focused on his new religion, the Egyptian empire began to fray at the edges. Letters found that Amarna showed desperate pleas from foreign allies, begging for military aid that never came. Back home, the old elites simmered with resentment, and ordinary people felt cut off from the familiar gods who had protected their families for generations. When Akhenaten died, his fragile system collapsed almost overnight. His young successor, Tutankhaten, quickly changed his name to Tutankhamen, signaling a return to the old gods. The court abandoned Akhenaten, leaving it to crumble back into the desert sands. The temples of Amen were reopened, and the old order was restored with a vengeance. Akhenaten's name was hacked from a king's list, his monuments torn down. For 1,000 years, he was remembered only as the heretic or the enemy. So what is his legacy? Akhenaten didn't create Judaism or Christianity. There's no direct line connecting his beliefs to later monotheistic faiths. But he planted a seed. He proved that it was possible for a civilization to conceive of one universal God. a single creative force for all of humanity. His political project was a spectacular failure, but the idea, once unleashed, could not be entirely forgotten. For one brief, shining moment in the Bronze Age, a pharaoh looked at the sun and declared, "There is only one." The world turned away, but the thought had been born. Thanks for watching.